You're watching IGN at San Diego Comic-Con 2025. Now, since the show's debut in 1997, the hit animated series South Park has made fun of Disney, Saddam Hussein, San Francisco drivers powering cars with their own farts, Jesus Christ, and Canadians. But this week, they're going after their biggest and smallest target yet, Donald Trump and his talking penis. Here to break down all the drama between Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and the White House are Clint, Gage, and John Davison. That's a sentence I didn't think I'd say today. How are you?
I'm good. Waking up this morning, I assumed this is what we'd be talking about.
Okay, so before we get into anything, IGN is generally, it stays apolitical, right? We cover the news. We're not like out there making like specific strategic political stances. But this is one of those things that transcends all of that. This is a pop culture phenomenon. This is the biggest story coming out of Comic-Con. Trey Parker and Matt Stone had a panel here at Comic-Con with the King of the Hill creator Mike Judge and Andy Samberg, and they got into this. This is the result of a few days ago a $1.5 billion deal between Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and Paramount. And the first thing to come out of that deal was a brand new episode of South Park that went very hard against the current administration, in which the current administration responded. Do I have those facts correct so far?
Those facts correct. And I think we should be clear that we're not going to express our political views at all. We just want to talk about, this is Matt and Trey's position. We're just going to talk about what they did and how they did it.
So what did they do?
Well,
first of all, I wouldn't, just to dive into the penis joke,
okay,
I wouldn't say they went very hard after it. But
wow. I love you, man. I love you, man.
We had to. So what they did was they created a video that is in the universe of South Park, ostensibly a pro-Trump ad that shows him walking through the desert, taking his clothes off while VO is talking about how much he cares about us. And ultimately, we get to see Donald Trump's tiny penis at the end of this ad. And to me, on top of, just obviously I'm a big fan of penis jokes.
Yeah.
Already made one. But the most brilliant part about this is a lot of it is what came out of the panel.
Yeah.
And how that joke came to be and all of the different things that they needed to do to get it through standards and practices, censorship, basically. And the network wanted to blur the penis. But that's why the penis needs eyes, is what they came up with. This is the fascinating part about comedy to me and things like this is when I think they also said something like there was grown adults in a room for like 4 days hashing out, how do we not blur this penis? And the answer was, put eyes on it, that makes it a character.
If we put eyes on the penis, we won't blur it. And then that was a whole conversation with a lot of grown-up people for about 4 days.
It's a character. It's a character.
That's how that happened.
It's the kind of thing that South Park has been sort of butting up against for decades now, which is just like, how do we get this thing on TV, cable TV, legally, right? And there's all these rules of things you can and can't do, and this was one that I think none of us knew about until today, which was that if you put a penis on TV, it needs eyeballs.
Right.
But then they've also got in the case of making it small, there's also that they have to sort of tackle the libel side of it.
Right.
And there's legal precedent there as well. There is literally a thing called the small penis rule.
Yeah.
Which is that if you say someone has a small penis, no one will sue you because no one wants to admit to having a small penis. So there are multiple layers to what they did here.
Yeah, because you can't be like, hey, you're making fun of me. Oh yeah, how is that you? Well, because it's me from here up, but not that part. Forget it.
You know what? Never mind.
And so this is part of like a bigger picture streaming thing now, right? Like this is now we're dealing with new territory there. This deal that they made is unprecedented, and I think what was fascinating about all of this was, it's pretty uncharacteristic for a target of South Park to retort with a written statement. But I don't think I can remember any time where like a White House on the sort of the legal, with all the masthead and all that comes in and says like, these guys suck. They're not funny.
They've not been relevant for 20 years, and yet they just signed a $1.5 billion deal for 5 years. And they were actually in negotiation for a 10-year deal, and the only reason that hadn't happened was because Paramount is in negotiations to be sold right now, and they're sort of in this middle ground right now where the holding company is sort of not sure of its future.
Yeah.
They're deeply relevant, right? And Matt and Trey themselves have been geniuses about the way that they've managed the South Park IP themselves, in that they haven't relinquished control. In fact, years ago, they bought back the streaming rights themselves so that they control how this is distributed online. So much about South Park is genius. I mean, from the way that they produce it, like they're able to produce this thing way faster than any other animated show.
Yeah.
They could turn it around. They could make this joke. No other animated show could make this joke because of the way the show is produced. They can produce a show in 6 days or less, including talking about a small penis for 4 days with lawyers, right? And turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, inclusive of the back and forth about the penis. Yeah, I mean, a show like The Simpsons or Family Guy and any other animated show that we've all loved over the years, or that is broadly satirical even, like it would take them a year. Like for them to be this topical, it would be a complete accident.
And this was interesting because they needed government approval for this merger, which means that the White House had to be like, thumbs up on this whole deal, and their response was basically like, let's go after the president.
The timeline of things has been wild, really, which is remarkable that the sort of center of this storm is now a penis joke, but like the behind this. So
bring us back to the timeline on this thing.
I mean, on top of like years and years worth of renegotiating deals and frankly brilliant like Oracle-style looks at these guys have seen the future of streaming, of TV, and all of that, and they've been on the cutting edge of like making sure they own their stuff. It's the same deal as like
2007, right?
Same deal like George Lucas was smart enough to get the merchandising rights for Star Wars. Like that's the cable TV version of it.
I think they've always established like no target is safe. We're going to go after anyone. And if you've watched South Park for decades, one thing at one point is going to be like, hey, you made fun of the thing that means something to me, right?
So the timeline here, this became the penis joke is the center of it, but really the actual joke is the Trump suing the town of South Park over the presidency. That's really the joke, right? Because this is really about CBS firing Colbert because of him accusing them of the $60 million bribe. That's really the joke.
So there was the settlement, the defamation lawsuit settlement for $60 million that Paramount did. Colbert spoke out about that. Then Colbert gets canceled. Then at that point, that's when the Paramount and South Park deal, the $1.5 billion deal, goes through at that point. Then they drop the episode, and it's everything's about a penis joke all of a sudden.
But the episode, in the center of the episode, the Trump administration is threatening to sue the town of South Park because they say Jesus is at the school, and Jesus says you should probably settle because it's like CBS, and CBS is owned by Paramount. You don't want to end up like Colbert.
Colbert? And then the Skydance and Paramount merger is approved by the FCC, with a caveat about like excluding DEI initiatives and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of horse trading going on with all of these different deals, and it's such a, and this is what, the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks, this is all come to a head. I mean, it's happening in real time, and it's
Colbert was canceled a week ago. His first show back Monday because he was contractually obliged to finish out the season, right? Which opened up some interesting doors because it's like, oh, now you get to pay this guy to be on TV for the rest of his run, and so he's going to say what he wants. And when he did that, it cut to the crowd, and there were all sorts of like just comedy legends there. So I think like one of the big things here is that a lot of people who have been in the comedy scene for a really long time came out to support Colbert, and this was Matt and Trey's way of doing that.
I think everyone, because of that, and now because of South Park, there's this like vibe of everyone is just like, anything goes now. And I mean, this is ultimately like a conversation about censorship, right? Like this is comedians being like, don't censor us. And I think that's interesting because when, Donald Trump, who had aligned himself with Elon Musk initially during the early aughts of his administration 6 months ago, Elon had purchased Twitter, and one of the first things he said was, comedy is legal again, right? And so the whole thing was like, gloves are off, we can say anything we want. And then Trey Parker and Matt Stone are basically fulfilling that promise. And the administration's response was like, no, don't do that, not like that. Like it's legal, but not when you do it. So that's been South Park's whole thing, is just go after everyone. And it's a matter of how people respond to that. And that's it's always just like when you get bullied when you're a kid. Like how do you fight back? Do you say something? Like does that feed back into the bully? Like
Well, and I also, I mean, to talk about South Park and their track record, like, this is what they've always done, and also in the sense, like, this is when their humor is at their best, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the jokes that they make that are very not subtle. Subtlety is not a thing they're concerned with, but they do it in such a smart and incisive way, right? Like, there's, you know, when a joke is the smartest person in the room and the dumbest person in the room are both laughing at the same joke, maybe for two different reasons, but it's just the one joke. And that's when South Park has always been at their best. I mean, they've got a character that is, it's literally poop.
Yeah.
And like, but it's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that, like, what's important to talk about here is, you know, this is a show that's like literally banned in China. Like, they've butt up against censorship to a point where there's actual places where you cannot watch South Park.
Yeah.
And I think we all agree that we don't want to be in a place where that can happen. So I would like for that show and similar shows to continue on forever, and I genuinely hope they do. Right? There's also the sort of Streisand effect of saying, you know, don't look at this, or it's not relevant, or how dare you say that? And I think a lot of people who maybe hadn't even heard about this are now paying attention, because a South Park episode has once again hit mainstream media like it's 1990 again, or 1997, and everybody's like, oh, can you believe they did this? Can you believe they said that? And that's so interesting to me, because that's the worst way to get someone to not look at something is to get everyone at the same time to be like, how dare you? And then they're like, wait, what are we upset about? Oh, I gotta look at that.
Check that
Also,
out.
think about the genius of justifying that $1.5 billion deal. Right? You come out of the gate swinging really hard, and part of that is not just you deliver a killer episode, but the virality of multiple moments.
It's exactly why they're worth $1.5 billion, right? Because it's like they delivered on a promise that was just like, you're gonna pay us a lot, and we're gonna give you exactly what you bought, which is us, which is historically gonna piss some people off, and that's okay.
But there were some viral moments that were not the jokes as well.
Yeah.
I noticed that there were a lot of people were clipping the very end of the episode when it was Cartman talking to Struthers, because a lot of people felt that was Matt and Trey talking to each other and just basically saying goodbye.
Yeah, I think that, you know, they've sort of openly been for years now ready to say goodbye to the show, but also willing to deliver on whatever.
They're going to go out on their own terms.
They're going to go out on their own terms, right? Yeah. And I think with this thing, with the massive, you know, unprecedented $1.5 billion deal, they're going to keep making the show for a while, and they're going to keep making the show until someone's like, you're not allowed to anymore. And I love that. Yeah. I mean, I don't love the idea of someone saying you can't make the show anymore, but I love the idea of them just being able to be like, hey, gloves are off. F censorship, which is the opposite of what I just did, and make the show forever.
Yeah, come on, man. But no, I mean, that's the kind of thing to celebrate in a moment like this, is that sort of approach, and the fact that there are truly sharp people like Trey Parker and Matt Stone making stuff for us, in that, like, they're smart enough to do it, savvy enough to do that 6 days or less thing, so that they can stay topical and they can stay on top of stuff like this. They're you know, smart enough to make the jokes in a way that are accessible to honestly anybody that you know wants to laugh at it, and they're doing it in a way that creates a lot of value because of the Streisand effect and everything. And it's just this perpetual motion machine of just like, here's how we generate our own business. And it's really an incredibly savvy thing to watch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're all old enough to have some gray in the places where some of us can still grow hair, so we all remember that they have pissed off everyone forever. And I remember controversy from, you know, the Christians and libertarians and leftists, and everyone at some point has been like, how dare you? And that is the magic of South Park. And I hope they get to keep doing that forever. Yeah. Okay, well, we never thought we'd be covering such a crude topic when we built this big, beautiful, expensive stage. But hey, anything can happen here at Comic-Con. We got lots more coverage up ahead, decidedly less penis talk, hopefully. But keep watching IGN at Comic-Con 2025, and don't go anywhere.